Hello, welcome to my July wrap-up. We are a little bit into August now, so I'm a little bit late with this, but I'm here now, better late than never, and I also promise you I am wearing clothes. It's just, it doesn't look like it when my hair covers the straps, but I am dressed. Just in case you were wondering. But July was of course the month of dragons for me. It was a July of dragons. I took on the challenge to only read dragon books. So every book I'm going to talk to you about here has dragons in it in some sort of capacity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not very many. 5 books I finished with dragons. 2 books I DNF'd with dragons. If you were keeping up with my vlogs, you will know what one of them was, but we'll get to it. First things first, I did my D20 Decides My Dragons vlog, and the first book I read for that was Witch Sign by Den Patrick. This had been a TBR vet of mine for a really long time. I have had this on my shelf for just about forever, and hadn't got to it, so I was quite glad when this came up on the D20, and I had an okay time with this. This one follows siblings Steiner and Kjellrun, brother and sister, and in this world dragons used to rule. However, the dragons have all been killed off, and now anyone who bears the sign of the witch sign is said to have some sort of connection to magic and the dragons. And our main characters have been tested for this witch sign year after year, and believe it or not, maybe one of them is tested as having the witch sign. And it's this kind of terrifying mystery of what happens to the children that are tested positive for witch sign, where they are taken, what they are taken to do, or whether they live or not, full stop. So when one of our siblings is captured for bearing the witch sign, we know we're about to explore that mystery a little bit, and what the Empire is willing to do to break down any sign of magic, any sign of what the dragons once held. Feels like it's been a while since I read this already. It was the first book I read in July, obviously, so it was just over a month ago now. This one got a 3-star from me. It was good. It was definitely one where I feel like I've read similar stories since acquiring this. If I had read this at the time when I purchased it, when it was a bit more fresh in my mind, when it was newer, when I was more in this sort of reading space, because it is a YA and I definitely don't reach for YA as much as I used to. If I had read it when I acquired it, I think I would have enjoyed this one a lot more than I did now that I'm much more into my adult fantasies and feel like I've read this sort of story before. But I think I might continue the series. I do have the full trilogy, so it's possible that I might continue this one, but yeah. First book. Second book that I read, full of dragons, for that same vlog was Dragon Rider by Taran Matharu. This I was very excited about, but also a little bit nervous about, because I've only read one thing by Taran Matharu before, which was The Novice, and I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it, so I was a little bit nervous going into this. However, within the first, 80 pages, I had good feelings. I had good vibes. I thought we could be heading towards a 5-star read with this one. This one follows Jai, who is the captured son of a conquered kingdom. He's not quite a prince, or doesn't quite believe himself to be a prince, but his father was the leader and was killed, and he and his siblings were captured, and he is now kind of a servant to the old emperor. We are very much in the political fantasy zone with this one, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I felt like the characters in this felt very realistic, like I understood their motivations and I felt sucked into their lives and their stories and their wants and their needs, and I thought it was very well done. There is a betrothal. The empire that has captured Jai, their emperor's son is being betrothed to the princess of a neighbouring kingdom, and with that betrothal her dowry comes with dragons, because that kingdom knows the secrets to bonding with dragons. So with her betrothal comes dragon eggs, and then comes disaster. And in this disaster, Jai finds his chance to escape from his capturement, and along the way finds the handmaiden of the princess, and they kind of are on the run together a little bit. I will say her character I didn't like quite so much. There was some predictability there. There were some bits that I just didn't fully believe in terms of her character, but then what is revealed at the end kind of made that make sense to me a little bit, but I didn't love her character, but I was very much into Jai's character. Overall, this one got a 4-star from me, so didn't quite hold on to those 5-star feelings, but was still a very strong read, and I very much enjoyed. Next up, the dice was incredibly kind to me in that vlog, because I got this teeny tiny book, Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. This is just a teeny tiny, coffee table sort of book full of motivational lines, passages, phrases. For example, "The map doesn't show me where I'm supposed to go," said Tiny Dragon. "Your journey isn't shown on any map," said Big Panda. "You must discover your own path." And it's just pages of that sort of thing. It was sweet. It was heartwarming. I think if you needed a little pick-me-up, reading a little bit from this every now and then. Very cute. Cute little coffee table book. Not enormously my sort of thing, but I liked it. 4-star? 3-star? I don't really know how to rate this, but it was cute, but I don't really know what more to say about it. The illustrations were also very sweet. I could imagine this sort of illustration being very cute for a tattoo or something. The final book from that vlog did end up being a DNF for me, but the dice was not kind in the end and gave me Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I couldn't get through this. I made it just about 100 pages into this and I had to stop. This was not doing much for me. In the vlog, I do very much go into my thoughts on this book and the whys it wasn't for me, but that's a big shake, Finn. The writing was terrible. Just bad. I don't think I can justify that at all. But bad writing can be overlooked if a plot is incredibly addictive. And I can understand how for some people this would be that. For me, it was not, and I couldn't get past the terrible writing. There was absolutely zero world building, in my opinion. All I can remember about this world was the equidistant windows. Ugh. The writing just threw me out so often. The flaming full stop, hot full stop, men full stop. I couldn't do it. And I'm kind of gutted because I did want to see more about what the hype was all about and so on, and I didn't really get that far and see why everyone hates certain characters and loves certain characters and what the fuss is about, but I just couldn't get past the writing. I had to DNF this. It was not doing any good for me. It had to be stopped. Maybe one day, if I'm really in the mood for a trashy cheeseburger sort of book, sorry to people who love it, then maybe, but I don't foresee that happening, personally. Next up, I read my favourite book of the month, and I have a vlog dedicated to this book as well, and that is The Sky on Fire by Jenn Lyons. I have a whole vlog just on my reading experience for this one because this was my most anticipated release of the second half of this year. I needed to gobble this up. I was so excited and it paid off. I loved this so much. This again has dragons, of course, dragon bonding, and a school where people learn to bond to dragons. However, in this world, being a dragon rider and being bonded to a dragon isn't necessarily the best thing because the dragons in this world, they rule, and they rule hard, and they rule firm, and they very much see humans as little, insignificant, beneath them. The purpose for dragon bonding in this world is very much beneficial to the dragon, and they see those humans as their possessions. They're not very kind, or at least most of the dragons are not very kind. And we follow our main character, Anarod, and Anarod lives in the Deep. And the Deep is below the Seven Spires, where the dragons rule, and the Deep is like its own realm. But Anarod is being chased, and Anarod is captured, and Anarod is taken back to Seven Spires. And I don't want to tell you too much about why that was, because you need to find it out for yourself when you read this. But I love Jenn Lyons' writing. The Ruin of Kings series from her, the Chorus of Dragons series even, which starts with Ruin of Kings, is one of my favourite series ever. But it is vast, and it is complex, and it can be a lot, and it can be confusing. So I really believe that if you wanted to start somewhere with Jenn Lyons to get a taste for her character building, and her world building, and her writing in general, this would be a fantastic place to start with Jenn Lyons. And I feel like Jenn Lyons is very overlooked for how gay her books are. Whenever I mention to people that Ruin of Kings is gay, they're like, what? I didn't know that. Ruin of Kings is gay. Sky on Fire is also gay. Just so you know. But this got 5 stars from me, obviously. I absolutely loved it. I will read anything that Jenn Lyons puts out, and will probably love anything that Jenn Lyons puts out. And conveniently, everything she's written has been about dragons. And I love that. Next up, I tried really hard to get through Zachary Ying and The Dragon Emperor by Xiranjay Zhao. I did finish this in the end, but it took me an awful long time to get through this not enormous middle grade. And when I think about it, I should have loved this. This has such an interesting premise and such interesting characters that really are going through complex emotions, bearing in mind they're 12. But the mood that I've been in when it comes to middle grade reading really does not do this book any service. So I almost feel like my review on this doesn't count, doesn't stand, because for its target audience, I would absolutely recommend this to a 12-year-old. It had characters struggling with their identities. We follow young Zachary Ying, who is Chinese American, and he feels not Chinese enough, not American enough, doesn't fit in anywhere, doesn't know what to do, terrified of being bullied, doesn't quite fit in with his friends, but doesn't know what else to do about it, doesn't know enough about his Chinese heritage, and that then comes into play when he is somehow possessed by the first emperor of China, and he needs to learn about his Chinese background, and he needs to learn all of these like famous myths and legends from Chinese culture that he's missed out on because he hasn't embraced that side of him, but then also like the power of some of the other things that he does know about and how they make him who he is and why that's important. And like, when I talk about this book, I can really appreciate how good it was. But when I was reading it, I wasn't having a great time because it's a middle grade and I've fallen out of love with middle grade again. Sometimes I can catch one that does well. Sadly, that's not the experience I had with this one, which was a shame because when I think about it and talk about it, I really do just have a lot of praise for it because I think for its target audience, perfect. Like, he has this virtual reality headset thing where he plays this game called Mythrealm, and it's like Pokemon VR, and you capture the legendary creatures and then you battle them, and it's really cool. And then he gets possessed by the first emperor of China, and there's a really cool dragon. But I just didn't have a great time. So I personally gave this 3 stars, but I don't think that should be taken very seriously, because I think it was very good. Okay, and finally, sadly, was another DNF, and that is this beautiful book, The Dragons of Deepwood Fen. I got about halfway. I got 353 pages through this. It's so gorgeous. I'm so gutted that it was so boring. Could I tell you what this is about? There's like two people, or not two people, like two groups of people. You've got like the Empire, and then you've got like the thieves in the woods, and they stand for different things. And there's our main character who is part of like the Empire, but kind of interacts with the thieves. And again, there's dragon bonding, so there are dragons present, and there are different types of dragons, and legally, when you're in the Empire, you can bond to certain types of dragons, but it is illegal to bond to other types of dragons, and the people in the woods bond with those dragons, and our main character has secretly bonded with one of those dragons who has to keep it a secret, but his father is like a really important person. Like, I didn't care enough to retain a lot of the information because it was just really boring. Like, the writing was not captivating. I was bored. So I decided to DNF at about halfway through. And I'm gutted because it sounded like it had so much promise. There were too many characters and I couldn't keep straight who they were, especially when it came to like the, what are they called? The Inquisitor type characters. I got really confused with who was who when it came to them because there was too many of them. So I just couldn't keep it straight in my head and I was bored and it just didn't work out. So sadly, another DNF there. And there we have my July of Dragons. They're all the books that I tried to read or completed in July. There's my July of Dragons. I am quite proud of myself for sticking to the challenge. And now I'm doing a whole nother challenge in August with trying to read 8,000 pages in August, so wish me luck for that one. But that is everything I have for you today, so I hope you have enjoyed my little run through of those. If you've read any of these and really love them, please let me know. If you haven't yet read Sky on Fire, I really think you should. And if you love Fourth Wing, I'm really sorry. With all that being said, thanks for hanging out with me for a bit. Hope you had fun. And I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye!